Chapter 5, Day 9. Here's a little warm-up review that we're going to work through kind of together. So graph the line y equals 1/3 x plus 1. Remember, this comes from y equals mx plus b, and b right here is the slope. No, m right here, we'll highlight it, is the slope. And b is the y-intercept. So all we need to do is graph the y-intercept, which is at +1. And then we use the slope to go to the next point. So again, this is our y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. Our slope is a rise over run. So our slope is rising 1, and it's going to the right 2. Up and right are both positive. Down and left would be a negative number. So again, up 1 over 2. So here is our line. That's the equation of our line number 1. So this equation is y equals 1/3 x plus 1. All right, so now you try the second line, pause the video, and see if you get it correct. And then restart the video to see if you have done it correctly. Okay, so you plot your y-intercept at -2, and then you use your slope of rise of 1 and a run of 3. So up 1 over 3, I just realized that I graphed that first one incorrectly. I only went up 1 and over 2. So I'll fix that line, and we'll draw this line. Down 1 over 3. Get rid of that line. I'll come back to that one, but let's finish graphing this one. Okay, so there is your second line, number 2. So this one is y equals 1/3 x minus 2. And again, going back to that first one, I needed to go up 1 over 3. Or down 1 and left, that'd be negative, and that's the same. So here are both lines. So this one again is y equals 1/3 x minus 1, or plus 1. There we go. Okay, so what is the slope of line 1? Well, it is 1/3. What is the slope of line 2? 1/3. Will the lines ever meet or cross? And the answer is no, because they are the same distance apart. So what I mean by that is for each line, you are going up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. So up 1 over 3, you're never going to get any closer together because both lines are going up 1 over 3. And those lines are called parallel. And what the symbol, which you'll learn in geometry, is to have little arrows on your lines. That signifies that those lines are parallel. So can you write a different equation of a different line that's like them? Well, all you need to do to write an equation of a line that's parallel to them or different but like them is you need to have the same slope. And you just have a different starting point for the y-intercept. So let's say our y-intercept is 6. Now we can go up to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can go up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. Or down and left, like I said before. And this will be an equation of a line that is also parallel to both of those other ones. And so what we're really looking for with parallel lines, or what we're noticing, is that parallel lines have the same slope. So that's what we're working on today. We're going to identify and graph parallel lines, and we're going to write equations for lines parallel to given lines. So Okay, this is what it means in words. Parallel lines have the same slope. Horizontal lines, like y equals 1 and y equals -3, both have a slope of 0. So they both have the same slope, so they are going to be parallel to each other. And vertical lines, the slope for both is undefined, so they also will be parallel to each other. All right, so for example, identify which lines are parallel. Graph one set of lines that are parallel. Well, what we're looking for is we're looking for lines that have the same slope, okay? Well, this slope is -2/3, and that's all we have right now for that one. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight that this slope is -2/3. This doesn't even have y equals mx plus b. Remember, just when we look back at those, what kind of lines are those? Those lines go through the y-axis, so those are horizontal lines. So our slope is 0. This equation, we can't pick out the slope. We have to solve it for y first. And I don't know how much you've done of this, but remember, we have to get this alone. So we're going to subtract 2x from each side. That cancels this out. 2x minus 2x is 0, x's. So now what we have is we have 3y equals -2x plus 12. Now we have to divide each side by 3. And remember, we divide each of those pieces by 3. So this equation in slope-intercept form is y equals -2/3 x plus 4. Now, here we have, oh, look at that. It matches with letter A. So our slope of this line right here is -2/3. So let's go ahead and graph those. We need to graph one of the sets of lines that are parallel. So if I graph letter C, I would start at the y-intercept of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 up here, and then I would go down 3, 1, or down 2, and to right 3. Down 2, right 3. Yeah, sometimes you go off your graph. That's okay. So that is letter C, which is y equals -2/3 x plus 4. And let's graph the first one that we found the slope was -2/3. And here we start at the same line and we go down 2/3. These end up to be the same line. Look at that. So we actually graphed the same line on top of each other. All right. And so that is letter A, which has the same equation. So let's continue on looking at slopes of these. See if we have another slope of 0. This slope is 2. So again, this is a slope of 2. And this, again, is just a y equals line, so it just has a y-intercept. So this is going to be a slope of 0. Oh, now we have another matching pair right here. We have two lines with a slope of 0. And then the last equation, again, you cannot pick out that slope just from looking at the equation. It needs to be in slope-intercept form to pick out the slope. So again, I'm going to get y by itself by subtracting 6x from each side. That gives me 3y equals -6x plus 3. Now I'm going to divide by 3. Each piece has to be divided by 3, so I get y equals -6/3 is -2x plus 1. So now my slope is -2. So m equals -2. All right. So we've graphed one line set that happened to be the same line, unless I did my math wrong, but I'm double checking here, and I don't see anything, mistakes of any of the kind, and so I don't see any other slopes that are the same, except for A, B, and E. So we can go ahead and graph those lines for practice. So if I graphed letter B, that would be M equals 0, so Y equals 4. So it is going through this line right here. I think I will try to use a different color here. So I'm going to use this color, darker blue. So that is letter B. And then I'm going to graph Y equals -2/3, and that is kind of tricky. But we can do our best to graph where Y goes to the Y-axis at -2/3. Here's where -1 is. -2/3 is just less than that. So that would be letter E. All right, so moving on. Now we're going to write an equation for a line parallel to a given line. So I want to write an equation of a line that is parallel to this line. So parallel to this line. So I'm going to graph both of them. And so first I'm going to just graph this one. So I'm going to graph the y-intercept, and I'm going to go up 3 to the right 1. Remember, if you don't have a number under your whole number, the fraction would be 3/1. So that's a rise of 3, a run of 1. So up 3 to the right 1, but both are positive. Now remember, any line that has a slope of 3 will be parallel to it. Okay? So we could graph a line and just put a different y-intercept. But what if we want the line to go through this point and still be parallel to this? Well, here's the point 1, 2. So what is that y-intercept going to be? Well, if I just follow and go up 3/1 or down 3/1, I was lucky enough to get my slope doing that. And sometimes that happens. And so you can kind of do this just intuitively. And since this was my y-intercept right here, then I know the equation of the line would be y equals 3x minus 1. So that is the equation of the line that is parallel to the y equals 3x minus 4. I know that because their slopes are the same, so they're parallel, and it goes through the point that we were given, 1, 2. Now, what if that we do the slope, we try to do the slope, and it doesn't go through? Well, then that's a problem. And so we need other strategies to do that. So here's how we do that. Here's how to write an equation for a line parallel to a given line passing through a certain point. So we want it to be parallel to a given line, but passing through a certain point. So the first thing we do is we find the slope of the line. So we're going to find the slope of the given line. Sometimes it's pretty easy. Here's our example we're going to work through as we do these notes. So y equals 6x plus 4. Our slope right here is 6. So m is equal to 6. Sometimes we have to solve it for y, or we have to think about whether it's horizontal or vertical and what those slopes are. Okay, our second step, we found our slope of our line, m equals 6. Now we have to use the slope of the given line for the m and the given point to find b, which is the y-intercept. So remember when we did this before, we wrote an equation of a line filling in our slope. So y equals our slope, which we got was 6. So we wrote y equals 6x plus b, but then we remembered that we also had to put in the x and y from our given point. So this would become negative 3 equals 6 times 2 plus b. So negative 3 is equal to 12 plus b. Subtract 12 on each side, and that gives us b equals negative 15. So now we have our slope and our y-intercept. So now we have enough to write our equation. We have our y-intercept, we have our slope, and so all we need to do is write the equation using the slope and the y-intercept. So the equation of this line then would be y equals 6x minus 15. And there is your answer. Okay, so this one's a little trickier because now it says to write an equation of the line that goes through this point right here, but is parallel to the equation of the line y equals 5. Remember, y equals 5s go through the y-axis. They're horizontal line, so their slope is 0. So now, basically, we could do the same thing that we just did. We could put in our slope and now our point that we're given to find b. So this would be negative 2 equals 0 times our x value, 9, plus b. Well, 0 times 9 is just going to be 0, so we get b equals negative 2. And so if we go ahead and put the b back in here with the slope, we're not going to have we're not, for our equation, we're just going to have 0 times x, which is going to be 0. So this equation just becomes y equals negative 2. So remember, when the slope is 0, they're y equals lines because they are horizontal. So since this is a horizontal line, it's a y equals line because it goes to the y-axis. So all you really needed to do was pick out the y-intercept because it's going to be a y equals, and wherever it goes through, the y-axis will be the equation of that line. Okay, so now let's have you write this equation. Let's see if you can try this one on your own. Before you get started, notice that the y-intercept is not able to be easily seen from the equation because it's not solved for y. So the first thing I want you to do is solve the equation for y and see if you can get the slope. Pause the video and see if you can do this. Then restart the video to see if you got it correct. So when you subtract 3x from each side, you get 4y equals negative 3x plus 8. And then when you divide by 4 on each side, you get negative 3/4 x plus 2. So your slope here of this line is negative 4. So your slope is negative 3/4. That's what you're looking for. Okay, now you're going to put it in with this point that you are given to write the equation. So I'm going to start with, again, y equals mx plus b. And now I'm going to plug in all three of my x and y and my slope. So I would have negative 3 equals, and I'm going to put my slope in a different color just so you can see what I'm doing. And then we have plus b. All right, so when you are when you are multiplying these fractions, remember you can use your calculator, you put a 1 under this, or this is a pretty simple one because you have negative 3 times 4, which is just negative 12 over 4. Well, that's just 3, so I'm going to be adding 3 to each side, and that's going to give me b equals 0. And that seems kind of weird. You might be like, well, wait, I must have made a mistake. Well, you didn't, because your y-intercept can be 0, right? That's okay if it goes to the y-axis at 0. So then your equation of this line that's parallel to this given line that goes through that point 4, negative 3 is y equals negative 3/4 x plus 0. But we wouldn't write that in there. So just y equals negative 3/4 x. All right. So that should give you some good examples and information. And go ahead and get started. on the practice. This is the end of the video for chapter 5.